I've been homeschooling for I think over 6 years, maybe 7. I don't know. Like, when do you really consider, when do you start homeschooling? I don't know. Like, technically, my son went to preschool when he was 3, and then I took him out the second year of preschool because I thought, no, it's not right for him. I want to homeschool. And then I had second thoughts about that, and I ended up putting him in kindergarten in this alternative program. I didn't really like that, so I ended up pulling him out and homeschooling since then. And my other 2 kids have been homeschooling since they were born, I guess. And I don't know. My oldest is 11 going on 12, and we've been homeschooling for a while, at least since kindergarten or first grade. Hold on. Okay, do you guys, I don't know, whenever I do something like for myself, my kids need me. And as soon as I'm not doing something for myself, then they just ignore me. I just feel like, I don't know. It feels like when it comes to me time, they just have this radar on them knowing that I want space, and they just want to break the boundaries and not give me space. So I wanted to share 11 things I have learned over the years on how to be a successful homeschooler. Number 1 is that there is no rush to learn or to do more. No one is behind, no one is late. There's no educational emergency. Some kids learn concepts quickly, others need a little bit more time. And sometimes kids will be like super enamored by a subject, and other times they won't. And when they are, like for us, for example, we spent 2, maybe 3 years on ancient Greece. That's a long time, but my kids were into it, and my oldest son was into it, and so we did. We spent 3 to 4 years learning about sharks. So there's no educational emergency, there's no need to rush. So number 2 is that it's really, really important to have a homeschool and self-care cohesion or integration. I don't believe in balance because it's never gonna be balanced. It's always gonna be off balance. And so just having the concept of integration or cohesion with your homeschool and your self-care, or homeschool and your work, or homeschool or life and work, or whatever, just knowing that it's all connected. Homeschooling actually makes you better at self-care because you have more time to focus on you, because you're not running around trying to get your kids to school on time and then picking them up and then, you know, doing all these other activities on top of that. So there's just more time, and it's much more relaxing when you are homeschooling, when you're schooling at home. And so it allows you time to, you know, have those morning routines where you wake up and you have some me time, and those evening routines as well. You feel less rushed and less having to do this and that, and less school hustle culture, I guess is what I would call it. So we don't have that. So homeschooling allows us more self-care time. And then homeschooling also is very flexible. Like, we can take breaks when we need it. Attendance is very important in the school system, and if students miss school, then the school loses money basically. And so attendance is really important, and it's not as flexible to just, you know, realize that, hey, my kids need a break, we just need to chillax for a week or 2 and then we'll get back to schooling. That's perfectly fine in homeschool, not so fine in any other school system. And then on top of that, homeschooling allows us to spend more time in nature, and it allows us more time to play, to do art, to do all the things that, you know, a lot of people wish they had more time to do. And we have the time to do it because we're doing it with our kids. And so that's another way to consider, is that self-care is not just always you doing something on your own. It could be you doing something you really enjoy with your kids, like hiking or creating art. So the third lesson I've learned is that it's really important to disconnect. I know you know this, I don't need to go into detail, but the majority of our homeschool community is found on Instagram. And so it's really easy to get sucked into that platform, especially with short form video being so prevalent now. And to be honest, we don't need to be constantly online and tapped into the community. We don't need to be death scrolling. It's really important for our mental health and even our physical health, and even our children's health. If we are more actively engaged and we're off of our devices and we're out enjoying life, we don't need to document everything. So I've actually set boundaries around social media. If you follow me on Instagram right now, you've probably noticed that I haven't been on there since like September. And I probably will come back in February after the Lunar New Year. Maybe even the end of February. I'm not too sure yet. And so when I do come back, I'm gonna have strict boundaries because I don't like the way it makes me feel, but at the same time, I know it's an important place to make connections and to form community. This next month or so, I'm gonna figure out and journal, because you know I like my journal. I'm gonna figure out why social media really makes me feel gross, because it does. Just plain and simple. It just doesn't make me feel good. Also, when we're not tied into the digital space and losing time on our devices, the days are longer. We have more time to spend with our kids. We have more time to be present with our children. All right, so my daughter got me a flower. So playing off of the whole disconnecting thing, and Instagram and all that, is that you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. I mean, that's the thing about Instagram and social media, is like you see people doing kind of the similar things or same things. And so then you feel like you need to be doing it too. In my opinion, and maybe this is I know this is like the natural way my mind works, is that when everyone else is zigging, you should be zagging. Like, you don't need to be doing what everyone else is doing. You do your own thing, you follow your own path. And on top of that, like, what works for others is not gonna guarantee that it's gonna work for you. And for some of us, for some people, like, they feel like failures when something doesn't work for them. Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. The next thing that I've learned is to just do one thing well. Like, you don't need to do all the things well. Just do one thing well when it comes to homeschooling. And my one thing is social studies. That is what I'm good at. That is where I put a lot of my energy in, and that is what I focus on. The other subjects, like, I mean, we work on all the other things, but I utilize the help where I can get it. And I don't stress myself out trying to be the master of all things. You know, that one thing where I put all my energy in is also where I see my kids spark, because I think they feed off the energy that I give into that, and so their interest is there as well. And then I think this is actually number 6 right now, is that routines and rhythms are a lifesaver. And this is something I fought for so long. I am not a routine person. In my mind, I'm just someone who just does things depending on their moods and how they feel. And I'm very, you know, like, just throw everything out the window and let's go on a field trip kind of a person. And I realize is that I need structure in life. My kids need structure in life. And routines and rhythms have really helped us with that, where we're able to get things done. We're kind of able to move through like the beginning of the day and the end of the day with these basic routines without putting much thought into it, so that we can have more space in our brains to do the things that are really important to us. I mean, routines are just habits, right? And you just don't have to do much thinking when you have habits. It just frees up the space in my mind to have better executive function, which is what I need when we are deep diving into topics, or I'm helping my kids with their math problems. I need to be fully focused. And then rhythms just allow our homeschool to like naturally flow in a way that just works for us. And every day is different in our homeschool because it just depends on what activities we have going on. Like my older son takes classes, and then by having these really flexible routines and rhythms, like we don't have many meltdowns, we don't have many fights. We're not like, you know, we need to finish this now because we have to. It's just, we just naturally flow through the days, and it's really been a lifesaver. We don't need to share everything on social media, our whole like homeschool life and everything like that. It's okay not to share on IG stories daily. It's okay not to do that. I'm okay not doing that. For a while I was doing that, and it was exhausting. Having to remember to take pictures and to, yeah, it was just too much. And to to write like, long-winded essays about what we've been up to and what we're doing and stuff like that. Because to be honest, I mean, people are interested, but no one really cares, to be honest. No one really cares that deeply. And sure, people are interested in what's going on, but I don't want people to be stuck on social media because it's like, it just takes up all the time and energy out of people. And I want people to be out there with their kids, homeschooling and enjoying what they're doing, not looking at what everyone else is doing. So I've just learned not to share so much of our lives on social media. And then if you do share, you don't need to share it right away. Like, snap the pictures and share it the next day. No one's gonna know that didn't happen just right then, you know what I mean? You can share them later, and that's perfectly fine if you want to share what's going on in life. Also, like, sharing later, especially if you're out and about, helps ensure your safety and your kids' safety, because there's some weirdos out there. If you have a small following, you probably know who's following you, but if you have a large following, you don't really know who's following you, and do you really want them to know where you're at so that they can go find you? No, I don't want that. So not documenting everything that you do in your homeschool allows you to be more present, and that's what we all need to do, is be more present, or at least I need to do, is be more present. This is coming from an anti-planner. I've been an anti-planner since the beginning of time. I don't know what it is. I just don't like planning, or at least in the sense where, I've been taught to plan, using the generic planners that we have, or like the teacher planners. Like, I don't like those. It's just, they're not conducive to my teaching style and the way our homeschool flows. And so I've always been anti-planner, but I've learned in recent years that planning helps you move forward. It's made my life easier when I plan, rather than trying to figure out what we're gonna do the morning of, right? Is to plan. But I don't do strict planning where on this day we're gonna be doing this and this and this. I just kind of have a general idea of what we're gonna be doing and working on. We try to get to it, and if we don't, that's okay. It just rolls over to the next day, because life happens, right? Life happens when you're busy planning. Is that the saying? So my planning is very flexible. It has a very loose structure. It allows us to progress forward, as I said, and also it helps my kids and me know what's up next, because it's no fun being clueless, right? Like, we want to know what's happening so we're prepared for it, and my kids feel the same way. So putting in the time to plan has given us extra time in the future, if that makes sense, because I don't have to be busy trying to figure out and scrambling what we need to do and what we should do, all that stuff. I already have it planned out, and so we can learn. We can spend our time learning and not busy trying to get all the materials and everything together. So the next lesson I've learned, I think we're at number 9. I think. You don't need to have the perfect curriculum in order to succeed. You don't need to find, for one, there's no such thing as a perfect curriculum. No matter what you use, you're gonna have to supplement in order to meet your child's needs, because it's just, there's no perfect curriculum out there. Let's just put that out. Let's just state that fact. There's no perfect curriculum out there, so don't waste your time trying to look for it. And on top of that, you don't even need a curriculum to learn. There's just so many free online resources out there. You can create your own unit studies or deep dives and you're fine. You can use Khan Academy for math. You can use, there's just so many things that you can use to help your child learn. You do not really need a curriculum. With that in mind, it does take some time and some planning if you are going to create your own homeschool unit studies or deep dives, etc. And if you do end up buying someone else's unit studies or deep dives, you're still going to have to supplement. You're still going to have to find additional material to enhance the experience because they're not going to have everything. They're not going to list all the books and all the possibilities that you can do to learn about that subject. And number 10 is that there is no right or wrong way to homeschool. Yes, there are people out there with opinions who think there is a right or wrong way to homeschool, and some of them will share those opinions. But, opinions are like, booties, and everyone has one, and they often stink. So you do not need to listen to those opinions. It's okay. So our homeschools are as unique as the individuals that incorporate it. So if you have a ton of kids, then your homeschool is going to be way more unique than my homeschool with just 3 kids. Or those of you with just one child, you're homeschooling just one child, it's going to be completely different than someone who's homeschooling 5 kids. So each of our homeschools are completely different and completely unique, and that's completely fine. Zag when everyone else is zigging, right? And we just need to do what's best for our kids and just leave other people's judgment at the door. Just what's important is not what other people think, it's your kids. Our kids are what's important, and that is what I choose to focus on. And then number 11 is having a clear mission and vision is a beautiful thing. It's your guiding light. It's your North Star. It allows you to stay true to your family's values. It helps guide you with the choices you make in your homeschool. And it's something that you can look to when you feel lost or unfocused or overwhelmed. It's just a reminder of why you homeschool. It's a reminder of why you homeschool, and it's a reminder of how you chose to homeschool, because we can easily get derailed. We can easily be glamored by other homeschoolers, like other, like new curriculum and stuff that we don't need. We can easily feel inadequate when looking on Instagram and seeing, these beautiful fairy tale looking homeschool pictures like that. Don't let any of that derail you. Remember your North Star, because that is what is most important. And then finally, just remember, like your homeschool mission and vision, it's not written in stone. It needs to be adaptable and flexible because each season of life is going to be different. Each season of your homeschool journey is going to be different. How you homeschool your kids when they're little is going to be completely different when they're in middle school or high school. In the beginning, you may be homeschooling multiples, and then in the end, you just have like one child left, and it's going to be a completely different dynamic. So it's important to be adaptable and flexible during your homeschool journey. So that's it for like the 11 things that I have learned to become a successful homeschooler. I hope you found value in the video. If you have, be sure to hit that like button because it helps get this video out to other people. And it's good food for the algorithm gods. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, be sure that you do. And I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
I can do the slime.
Yes, now we can do the slime.
We are doing the slime.